Do you go down on a woman? Have you ever stopped to think about what that really does to her, beyond physical pleasure? Because what you're about to hear today might completely change the way you see this act. That's right, this video is all about the psychological and behavioral effects that oral sex has on women, and how it can unlock everything from feminine self-confidence to a deep, spontaneous desire to serve you willingly. If you just want to be an average guy, stop watching now. But if you want to understand why her pleasure is actually a silent investment in your masculine power, then stay with me. Because in the next few minutes, you'll uncover the 6 hidden benefits that turn oral sex into a powerful tool of masculine command and even spark emotional dependence. The best part? It all happens naturally, instinctively, and deeply connected. And if this content is already shifting your perspective, consider supporting this community. Hit the like button, share this video, and drop a comment below telling us what stood out the most. Your gesture could help another man escape the emotional blindness that's been sabotaging his relationships for years. And since most men never looked at it from this angle, let's begin by exploring the roots of feminine desire and what intimate pleasure truly reveals about her mind. First revelation. She feels beautiful when you worship her with your mouth. A woman's self-esteem is deeply connected to how she is seen and desired. When a man kneels, metaphorically or literally, to give her pleasure through oral sex, he's saying something without words. You deserve to be worshipped. And that act hits deep within the feminine psyche. She doesn't just feel pleasure. She feels physical and emotional validation and the kind of admiration that no amount of likes on Instagram can deliver. It awakens a glow in her eyes, lifts her posture, and sparks a powerful wave of feminine libido that turns into inner strength. Many women grow up being told that certain parts of their body are dirty, shameful, or improper. But when a man shatters that conditioning by looking, touching, and tasting with genuine desire, he becomes a catalyst for silent healing. She feels accepted, whole, wanted, and that body acceptance triggers a domino effect. The way she dresses changes, her posture shifts, her entire relationship with herself transforms. It all begins with that one intimate gesture, a moment of pure desire programming redirected toward loving her own body. And the result? Powerful. She begins taking better care of herself. Women who once avoided showing their bodies start to bloom. They shave more carefully, wear bolder lingerie, and carry themselves with confidence. Why? Because they feel truly seen. The man who sparks that transformation becomes someone rare in her eyes. Without even realizing it, he has unlocked an emotional treasure within her. She starts to feel more alive, more radiant, more enough. And yes, this directly impacts the way she treats her partner. A woman with high self-worth has more energy to give back. She cooks differently, speaks differently, even argues differently. Why? Because underneath all of it, there's a quiet sense of gratitude, a recognition of the man who helped her reconnect with herself. This is where the cycle of voluntary service begins. She gives because she wants to, not because she has to. She offers because she feels, not because she's expected to. That's the power of subconscious reward. It reshapes how she views herself, and it links that new version of her to the man who brought it out. From that moment on, he becomes more than a partner. He becomes the source of her feminine bloom. Second revelation. Her pleasure reflects your leadership. Oral sex means something far deeper to a woman than most men realize. While penetration is often tied to direct physical desire, instinctive and more predictable, oral sex demands emotional trust, psychological surrender, and a profound sense of vulnerability. When a man commits to this act, he's not just touching her body, he's entering her mind. He activates patterns of psychological arousal and subconscious reward, making her feel valued, worshipped, and genuinely desired. That's where a unique connection is born, one that penetrative sex alone rarely creates. This kind of surrender is a form of nonverbal communication. When she relaxes, moans, holds your head with both hands, or wraps her legs around you, she's saying something words can't capture. I trust you. That doesn't come from brute force or smooth talk. It comes from what we call silent domination. A man who understands this knows that in that very moment, he's planting something powerful in her mind, an emotional imprint she won't forget. Here's what's even more interesting. the intensity of her pleasure often mirrors her willingness to follow that man's lead. Masculine command reveals itself in the details. A man who can guide without arrogance, but with presence, earns more than just pleasure. He earns sexual influence. She begins to see him differently. Something changes in how she touches him, how she treats him, how she craves him outside of bed. It's an emotional domino effect, all triggered by one intimate act. Men who don't understand this often assume that giving too much pleasure means weakness. What a mistake. The truth? The more you master her pleasure, the more she wants to obey you. This is where erotic obedience is born. A woman who's been led to orgasm with respect and intensity starts seeing that man as rare. And what's rare becomes valuable. Simple as that. But here's the catch. None of this works if it's done out of obligation or manipulation. What activates subconscious reward in her is knowing you're there out of genuine desire, not strategy. When she feels that your presence is real, she responds with affection, respect, craving, and even a deep form of emotional voluntary service. And that, my friend, is just the surface of what you can unlock in this world. Third revelation, sexual surrender deepens emotional loyalty. There's a very fine, almost invisible, line between physical pleasure and emotional bonding. And that line is often crossed during oral sex. When a woman experiences intense pleasure through your presence, your touch, your gaze, something shifts inside her. She links that man with the feeling of being fully alive, adored, and seen. This is how instinctive loyalty begins. Not through pressure, but through emotion. That emotional bond doesn't come from the orgasm itself. It's created during the journey. Through how the man leads, through the meaning behind his touch, through the care in his timing, the way he holds her hips, sinks his breath, senses when to slow down or go deeper. All of it communicates a level of leadership she absorbs unconsciously. And when that guidance is steady and respectful, it awakens a subtle form of emotional dependence within her that you've probably met the kind of woman who seems untouchable, cold, independent, the type you assume would never lower her guard for any man. But even she can shift when she feels a deep sense of emotional belonging through intimate pleasure. This has nothing to do with forced submission. It's what we call an emotional treasure, a space within her that, once accessed, transforms how she views that man. Suddenly, he becomes someone worth protecting, prioritizing, following. This is where the key lies. Oral sex, when delivered with emotional intention, sends a message few men ever express. That message is care, focus, intimacy, and that level of exclusivity leaves a lasting impact. She starts to dream about that man, think about him throughout the day, anticipate their next moment together. It creates a feedback loop where physical pleasure becomes sexual, emotional, and behavioral influence. Men who grasp this don't need to raise their voice or beg for attention. They lead by contrast, by silence, by the memory they leave, imprinted in her body and her mind. That's the essence of invisible control, a kind of power that can't be seen, but is deeply felt. The kind that pulls her back in, that keeps her craving, that makes her surrender without ever understanding why. And here, a quick pause. If this kind of content is opening your eyes to things you previously overlooked, like and subscribe to the channel now, because this is just the beginning. Let's continue. Fourth revelation. Oral sex triggers a natural cycle of reciprocity. Very few men understand this. When done with real intention, oral sex activates a natural cycle of emotional reciprocity in a woman. It's not about expectations or some silent contract. It's instinct. When she receives genuine pleasure, attention, and presence, her first response is to give it back. And she doesn't just give in bed. It shows up in how she makes you coffee, how she listens, how she takes care of the house, or even your well-being. That's voluntary service activated through emotion. No pressure, no demand. It's simple. The more fulfilled she feels, the more she wants to fulfill you. Oral sex becomes a kind of feminine energy recharge. It realigns desire, trust, and affection all at once. After being truly satisfied, a woman feels grateful, relaxed, and emotionally full, and that directly affects how she shows up in the relationship. She becomes lighter, more affectionate, more giving. This emotional state sets the stage for instinctive loyalty, born from deep contentment. not fear of losing you. It also breaks routine. When a man takes the lead in giving pleasure, without waiting for the right moment or a script, he shakes off the boredom. He proves he's aware, he cares, and he desires her. That hits the female ego in the best way possible and activates psychological arousal. She begins to look forward to it, prepares to reciprocate. What once felt like a one-off moment becomes a recurring ritual, a dance of giving and receiving. Want it even more practical? Start by communicating. Ask what she likes. Go slow at first. Pay attention to her reactions. Take pauses. Use your tongue to explore, not just perform. And above all, be consistent. Oral sex shouldn't be a reward. It should be a regular part of your connection. Consistency builds safety. Safety fuels desire. A man who does this well and regularly creates a signature in her mind. That's called sexual influence, and it lasts longer than any wild night of empty penetration. Another key? Hygiene. A clean body, trimmed nails, fresh breath. This isn't luxury. It's respect. She notices everything. A man who shows up well prepared is silently communicating. You matter. That increases your value. And don't underestimate sound. Breathing, moaning, whispering praise while going down activates her sensory and emotional brain all at once. That strengthens the desire programming, linking her pleasure to your presence. Bottom line, if you want her to surrender more, start by giving more. But give with strategy, presence, and real pleasure. When done right, oral sex becomes an emotional lever. It shifts her mood, her energy, and even the way she looks at you the next morning. That, my friend, is invisible control in full effect. You won't even have to ask. She'll want to return the favor. And then some. Fifth revelation. The pleasure you give reflects your purpose. A man who gives pleasure with full presence is living in alignment with his role. As Seneca once said, it is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult. Many men avoid oral sex out of insecurity, ignorance, or fear of seeming weak. But the truth is the opposite. It takes strength to serve with intention, strength to go beyond performance and create a meaningful experience, one that nourishes her and reshapes how she sees herself. And you, the pleasure you give isn't a reward she must earn. It's a mirror of your stoic presence. It's not about submission, it's about self-mastery. When you give with clarity and calm, you show that you're in control of yourself, that your ego has nothing to prove, that you're operating on a higher level. That's where masculine command becomes refined. The ability to guide her to bliss without needing anything in return and still receiving subconscious reward. In ways that last. A man who operates like this understands emotional reciprocity. He's not there to just take, he's there to build. He sees the woman as part of his mission, to lead, elevate, awaken. And this ignites in her a sacred urge to give back. A quiet hunger to offer voluntary service, not out of obligation, but as recognition. She knows she's with a rare kind of man, one who turns pleasure into meaning. That kind of energy creates a magnetic pull. She starts thinking about him more, respecting him more, wanting him even in his absence. The Stoics called this virtus, moral strength that attracts through example, not effort. A man like that doesn't need control, he embodies it. He leads from within. That's what we call invisible control. His energy says everything, and his presence shapes the atmosphere. And the impact quietly reshapes the whole relationship. This kind of practice is also a rare form of communication. Every intimate gesture says, I see you, I know you, I accept you. And when that acceptance is real, it awakens a level of psychological arousal that surpasses the physical. She starts to move differently, look differently, respond differently, all because one man dared to go beyond the surface and made her pleasure a mirror of self-knowledge and mutual respect. In the end, Stoicism teaches us that what is within our control must be mastered with excellence. You can't control how she feels, but you can control how you lead, how you touch, how you look at her. And when you lead with that kind of clarity, the outcome is inevitable. She surrenders with uncontrollable desire because she feels she's finally with a man who knows exactly who he is. Sixth revelation. Female oral pleasure releases repressed emotion. There's something almost therapeutic happening inside a woman when she's brought to deep pleasure through oral sex. Many times, she doesn't understand why she starts crying afterward or why she suddenly feels emotionally attached. But there's a clear reason. She's releasing emotional layers that were stuck inside. Old wounds, past rejection, buried insecurity. All of it can be unlocked at the peak of pleasure. And the man who takes her there becomes the silent trigger of profound healing. During oral sex, she's not just being touched, she's being seen, held, validated. This allows her to enter a state of safe vulnerability. Her body relaxes, her mind lets go. And this emotional space releases more than just pleasure. It clears out stored energy, anger, sadness, need. When all that finds space to rise, it transforms her. She leaves that moment changed, and she knows exactly who did that for her. That's how an emotional treasure is etched into her memory. What happens next? She begins to crave that man, intensely. The bond is no longer just physical. It becomes emotional, mental, nearly spiritual. Her body remembers it and wants to repeat it. It becomes a form of uncontrollable desire, rooted not just in lust, but in emotional need. The most fascinating part, even she can't explain it. She just feels it. She just wants him. She just comes back. That's the power of subconscious reward working beneath the surface. This is what many call total surrender. She stops resisting, stops controlling. She starts trusting. And from that trust comes a new kind of relationship. More mature, more intense, more real. All because she was touched the right way, at the right time, with the right intention. The emotional dependence that emerges isn't toxic, it's symbolic. She feels safe with a man who knows how to awaken her and protect what he awakens. But hear this. Healing oral sex isn't fast or robotic. It's not about technique. It's about connection. The man who understands that becomes a channel for transformation. And the woman, feeling that, begins to see him with reverence, with desire, with a deep hunger to give him her best. That's where erotic obedience begins. Not from force, but from affection. At the end of the day, good oral sex is more than pleasure. It's a tool for connection, healing, and transformation. She relaxes. She trusts. She wants to please you. And all of that happens because you had the courage to go beyond the shallow and touch the emotional core of a woman. Now that you've understood how oral sex can shift a woman's behavior, making her more confident, more open, and more connected to you, the question is simple. Are you going to ignore this or use it to your advantage? You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to know how to give pleasure the right way. That creates a cycle of desire, respect, and reciprocity. And it all starts with action. So practice, observe, improve, repeat. Results come from consistency. Drop a comment below. She deserves pleasure. If you really grasp the value of what we've talked about. And of course, like this video, send it to a friend who needs to wake up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. I'll see you in the next one. And remember, a woman touched the right way always comes back.